do to get started. Guys, one thing I want to make clear, you're going to have classes in your first year or if you're taking this later on in your college career that are stressful. This class is never really intended to be stressful. It's intended to be a way for us to kind of get in with the world of business. Yes, we have assignments. Yes, we have things I'm going to expect you to do, but I want you to view this as a start to your day that maybe is a little more relaxing than some of your typical classes. What I am asking you to do, if you have not already, is to check in on Canvas. And I'm going to give a little bit of a roadmap to that here momentarily. And I'm also asking you, if you have not yet, get the book and start reading Chapter 1 as well. I'm going to ask you also to review the syllabus. I had handed out some hard copy of that on Monday, but I'll also go through it with you again today online. And guys, our first assignments in this class are going to be due a week from this Friday. Why are they so far out? Well, because this Friday in class, we're going to go through them. And for people who aren't in class because you're traveling this Friday, fear not. We'll make time to go through them with you too. Your first two assignments in this class, one is called the 5 Environments of Business. We're going to actually do that assignment together in class before you do it on your own. And the other is referred to as a LinkedIn assignment, where you're going to be creating your own LinkedIn page. Guys, by show of hands, how many of you already have your own LinkedIn pages? That's great. For those who have LinkedIn pages, you're going to get a chance to revise them. For those who don't yet have LinkedIn pages, we're going to help you create them. Now, here's the trick with this assignment. Let's say, for example, you do your first crack at a LinkedIn page, and there are things about it that I think you need to improve upon. I'm going to send you back what to fix on your page, and you're going to get to resubmit it until you get a perfect score. Everybody in this class will have an opportunity to get a perfect score on that particular assignment. Guys, before we jump into too much content today, though, I do want to take a second and walk you around Canvas a little bit. We had some a little bit of confusion on this particular layout, and I want to make sure everybody knows where we're going with this. So you're welcome to follow along if you like once I log onto the system, but I'm just going to show you how everything is sort of organized in our course so that there's no question as to how things are set up. Just like you guys, when I log in, I'll see all the classes that I have access to. And the very first one on my list is Business 101. So I'm coming into Business 101, and I'm putting this into what I refer to as student view, so I will see it the same way that you see it. So right now, if you're on Canvas, this is what you should be seeing. The places you're going to be using the most in our Canvas page are occasionally some discussions, because there are going to be times I'm going to be asking you to watch a video or read an article and give me your opinion about it. That's an easy grade, by the way. The modules are where you'll find all the assignments and all the content. I'm going to show you how to navigate that as well. And grades. Grades are where you'll be able to see what you did on your assignment, how well you did, what kind of feedback I had to offer you. So for right now, what you should be concerned about within Canvas is going into, if you could go into the module section. Here you can see I have Start Here assignments listed. There are no points associated with these. The only reason they're even here is to get you oriented to the class so you know how to upload assignments. So for example, if you go to Start Here and Welcome, although I handed out a hard copy of the syllabus on Monday, you can download a soft copy of the syllabus here. You can download a PDF. If we go back out to the Start Here assignment, all I'm asking you to do is to be able to open a PowerPoint and to be able to submit it. Then you're going to go to the discussion board. And the discussion board is basically a place where you're going to introduce yourself to the rest of the class. There are no points associated with any of these assignments. They're just to get you used to using the system if you're not used to Canvas. Here's the one that you will want to pay attention to, though. If you go to our YouTube playlist, right now, this is, there should be an image there. I apologize that it's not. If you click on this image, or click on this list, it'll take you to our YouTube channel. And guys, this is where I'll be posting lectures. So if you missed class on September 2nd, you could go back here and you'll see, once I post it, the lecture for September 2nd will be listed here. It's very easy to get to. And again, guys, because I have to upload these and they process, I generally have the lectures on within about 24 hours of the day that I do them. Sometimes if I do a Friday lecture, they don't make it up until Monday. If you know for sure you're traveling and you have need to catch up, just tell me and I'll make sure that I'm even more quick than I usually am. Again, if you go back into modules, because today we're starting off with our Chapter 1 presentation. If you click on Chapter 1 presentation, there's our PowerPoint slides you can download. I encourage you to download the PowerPoint slides and follow along in class. Some people like to print them. If that's your thing, that's okay too. If you want to use your computer for that, that's okay. The reason I provide you the PowerPoints, I want you in this class to not have to be as distracted with taking notes as you are with participating. So I encourage you to take notes, and there are times I may even directly say, I would write this down. But most of the time, if you're willing to participate in conversation, taking notes on those slides would be completely adequate. And again, the first 2 assignments here are listed as being due on September 9th. And that's, I believe September 9th is what, a week from Sunday. And so, is it Sunday or Monday? So we've got some time on these, and again, we're going to cover them in class this week. So before I get into today's material, are there any questions about how I've laid things out in Canvas? Does that all make sense? Guys, occasionally people have trouble uploading assignments. For example, if you go into the 5 environments of business, I'm just pointing this out to you. For example, if you go in and try to complete the assignment, if you click Submit Assignment, what you're going to be able to do is to upload a Word file. So wherever you've saved it, you can upload it right to me, and I'll have a file I'll be able to annotate and give you feedback on. Does that all make sense, guys? Okay. Here's the deal. I never, ever, ever, ever will punish a student for a technology problem. If you have a problem with your laptop, if you have a problem using the system, if you're having a problem getting the notes or the slides, come see me. We'll get that taken care of. I don't punish students for technology problems. That being said, I do expect you to try to learn how to use the system. So, any questions, guys? Okay, that's the rest of our setup for today. So we're going to get into today's discussion. Guys, one of the things I always enjoy doing in this class is to start off with a little bit of current events. Who here, by show of hands, has heard of the company Beyond Meat? How about the Impossible Burger at Burger King? What's the deal with the Impossible Burger? What is it? It's an incredibly realistic meat substitute. By show of hands, has anybody had one? I had one the other day. Actually, if it came in a wrapper with a bunch of toppings on it, I defy most people in this room to know it wasn't meat. Well, check this out. Kentucky Fried Chicken decided they're getting on this bandwagon too, and this company called Beyond is making plant-based chicken nuggets. They just unveiled them yesterday. The test run ran out in 5 hours. I'm going to show you a little news clip about what a big deal this was in the world of business right now. Yes, sir. I apologize for the music starting during your excellent response. So will you please repeat that, sir?
I said you might as well do it if the customers want it because you can make profit off of it.
You got
if
a
everyone says they want to be vegan or vegetarian and you're the first one to come out with it, everyone's going to love yours and you're going to blow up, get all this news attention, like how we're watching it in class right now.
Exactly right. It's a big potential market. Yes, sir.
It would reduce a lot of costs as far as getting actual meat, having to have some sort of farm or something to sell you all this meat. I assume with plant-based meat, it must reduce costs to get that instead of that.
You're on to an interesting point because there are different kinds of costs associated than agricultural costs. We're going to touch on that. That's an excellent observation. Yes, ma'am.
The world of business is surrounded by trends, so if it goes with a current trend of like vegetarian or something, then that's what would make the most profit.
I think you guys are all hitting on this. Let's have one more. Yes.
Mine's kind of similar, but it's a definite shift in a very traditional market. The meat market's been, a big supplier of food for centuries, and this is a big shift away from the traditional beef and chicken.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. If you guys had to guess, now this is a statistical guess, so it's one of these things, you know what they say about statistics. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. But generally speaking, the entire 100% of the United States population, what percentage of the population identifies as vegetarian or vegan? If you had to guess. I'm sorry?
5.
So we got a guess for 5. Anybody else have a guess? Ma'am. So we got a guess for 20. One more guess. We got a guess for 15. It's actually less than 5%. Less than 5% of the population identifies as vegetarian or vegan. So why are traditional meat eaters possibly interested in these kinds of products? Yes? There is some argument whether or not they're healthier because they have to use additional amounts of sodium, for example, to make flavoring. But there is that perception, yes. That's exactly what they're selling. So the idea being is what a lot of environmentalists are saying. If those of us who are meat eaters, and believe you me, I am a meat eater. If we can go one day a week without eating meat, the environmental impact could be greatly reduced. Now, farmers on this side of things aren't necessarily going to lose out because if we're using things like soybeans and tofu-type products, they can shift production to those kinds of means, which are less water-intensive and also produce less carbon dioxide output. When I say this, I'm not telling you what you should think about environmentalism or meat eating. It is a business trend. And there are people who are meat eaters who are eating this stuff to mix up their diets a little more for the reasons we all stated. Here's something else that's really interesting, guys. This is a chart that shows you back in, I believe it was, let's see, what month? Back in May, whenever this company went public, when Beyond went public, we're looking at a share price of around $74. If we look right now, as of this morning before trading open, it was trading for $157 a share. That would be a great stock to have gotten in on. Now, there was a nice spike here in the middle of August. I think we could see another spike like that, particularly if these foods keep taking off. So there are times people don't even necessarily agree with all the reasons behind a product, and they'll still invest in it. Yes, sir?
Do you think that would be unstable, though, because it's kind of a trend? So do you think that would have the possibility to tank pretty quickly if, it comes out that they're not doing something right, if it comes out, just if the trend shifts, wouldn't that be kind of a volatile stock?
I completely agree. And I think it's going to depend on, honestly, if I had to say who are going to be the movers and shakers, whether this is going to be successful, this is my opinion. It's going to be people your age to about age 24 who are the big decision makers who are more open-minded to this stuff. If you go to a Burger King where they're selling the Impossible Whopper, look at the sign. It says for a limited time only. They're trying this out to see if they want to do a long-term investment. If they do, yeah, this stock could go places. Where else could we go? Right now we're talking beef and chicken. There are all kinds of other products that meat eaters enjoy that could be taken in by this particular market. That's a great point. Any other points before we move on today, guys? Guys, we're always going to bring this kind of stuff into the classroom, but we do have some basic business concepts we're going to cover today, basically to give us a common lexicon, a common language from which to speak about the world of business. Guys, what we're going to be talking about really in this particular chapter are the basic tenets of business. In the United States, what do we generally refer to our economic system as? What kind of economy do we have? We're a capitalist economy, which means we can own property. We sell things at a profit. You have a free market that can do pretty much what it wants. But we're going to talk about the idea of how we build wealth. We're going to talk about the different environments of business, which is what your assignment is going to be all about, and how U.S. business has evolved from the days of the agrarian society to the days of the post-industrial society like we have today. Anytime, generally speaking, if you want to make money, there's always some level of risk. Generally speaking, the greater the risk, the greater the potential reward or return on investment. That's not always true, but the big risk takers are people sometimes who win big. So your tolerance for risk controls how you interact in the world of business. We're also going to talk about how we leverage production and factors of production into wealth. For example, you're in Pennsylvania. You're in the middle of a post-industrial economy in Pennsylvania. What was our greatest natural resource? Coal. We powered the country. We powered the industrial revolution in this country from this region. And actually, believe it or not, this is also a big region for petroleum. In the world, do you guys know who the largest producer of petroleum is now? Take a guess. What country? Saudi Arabia is a great guess, but we surpassed them. The United States is the biggest producer of petroleum in the world, and we export more diesel fuel than just about anybody. So we are a resource-rich country. We're going to talk about how this stuff affects the success of our business. We're also going to talk about things like taxes and why we pay taxes and how that affects the way our business environments are working these days. When I say this, I don't expect to shape your political opinion. I always expect you to have your own political reasons for thinking the way you do, and I support you having your own opinion. But President Trump did something big for the world of business last year to try to boost the economy. What was that? What did he cut? Regulations and taxes. He cut the corporate tax rate drastically from what it used to be, which is why we're seeing some of the economic growth we're seeing. That's not a one-sided equation. There are impacts to cutting taxes. When you cut taxes, if you don't cut spending, what happens? You go into debt, which is something else we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be talking about technology and business. So what I want you to be able to get from this particular chapter is some basic business tenets and some trends in the economy. Guys, when was the last major recession that we were in the United States? What year? I heard somebody say it. 2008. What happened? The housing market bubble. Basically, guys, here's what happened in 2008. The most major source of wealth we as Americans have is our home. You'll spend more on your home than anything else probably you buy in your life, except maybe your education, depending how far you go. And what happened was we had a whole range of people who could not make their mortgage payments, so all of a sudden banks were becoming insolvent. All of a sudden we had our largest source of wealth slipping out from under our feet. And guess what? All the stocks and bonds and everything else we have in this country, all of our investments, a lot of that stuff goes into real estate. So the real estate crisis that started in the United States created a global crash. And that was our last big recession. But here's the trick, guys. It'll happen again, and it happened before. So I'm not saying you shouldn't try to avoid recessions or be fearful of them, but they are part of the natural economic cycle. Guys, when we start talking in 2019, even though we're a digital economy, we still have three basic tenets. If you're in business, it means you're doing something to make money. You're doing something to create value, whether it's a service, whether it is making a product and selling it at a profit. That's what business is all about. Goods, things that we can sell. A car is a good. A textbook is a good. A laptop is a good. Services are things that are less tangible. Of those two aspects, goods and services, which is a larger part of our economy? Services. You're absolutely correct. Most of us work in the service industry. How many of you have somebody in your family who works in healthcare? Healthcare is a service industry. Education is a service industry. The companies that sell goods and services are selling things that maybe 20 years ago didn't even exist. If you guys had to guess, who is the largest vendor of server space, of hosting for websites in the United States? What company? Yes. Google's a great guess. It's actually Amazon. So Amazon just doesn't sell us sneakers and parts for our bicycles. They sell web hosting too. So services are a big part of the economy. People who want to do something with all this power, we refer to them as entrepreneurs. Raise your hand if you want to own your own business someday. So we've got potential entrepreneurs in this room. And your own business can be a for-profit or a non-profit. If you like charity work, guess what? That's still a business. You still have to manage money. But entrepreneurs are people who have the guts to say, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to take over a business. I'm going to do something different. We're going to do a whole chapter just on entrepreneurs and what makes them tick. Revenue and profit, however, are two key concepts in this whole equation. What's the difference between revenue and profit? Sir?
Revenue is money coming into the business. Profit is what's left over after expenditure.
Exactly right. When we say, hey, revenues are great for the first quarter of 2019, if you're spending more than you're bringing in, you're still operating at a loss. Can somebody tell me a big company in the online economy that's operating at a loss, that's still not making money, even though they're very successful? Think about the big online companies. Yes? Sorry? Twitter is actually making a little bit of money, but only recently. Amazon just started making money about 5 years ago. They were losing money for most of their existence. Yes? Wikipedia, yeah, they're non-profit. They're not making any money at all. Yes? Spotify is still losing money. Netflix is still losing money. Uber is still losing money. Lyft is still losing money. None of these companies are making a profit. So why are investors still buying their stock and putting money into those companies? If you have a company that's not yet making money, why would you keep investing in it? Yes?
The business isn't going to be solved right away, so we have to see whether or not the idea is valid.
You see in the future. If you want to know why for the first 15 years of Amazon's existence, why people kept putting money into that company, it's because of this. Christmas shopping season 2018. Out of every $10 spent on the internet in the United States, 4.5 of those dollars went to one company, Amazon. If you want to know why your shopping mall looks like a ghost town these days, it's Amazon. It's Target Online. It's all these early adopters who figured the system out. And that's exactly why we sometimes invest in companies that don't make money right away. Again, we talk about revenue and profit. Companies, plenty of them are operating at a loss. Here's my question for you guys. How many of you regularly use a ride service such as Uber or Lyft? Or have used a service such as Uber or Lyft? Will somebody tell me which one they prefer and why? Does anybody have a preference between Uber and Lyft? Man.
Lyft does background checks, but Uber doesn't.
Uber can be scary sometimes. Have you ever had a sketchy Uber driver?
I've never actually taken any of them, but I've just read stories about how if you ever hear anything in the news, it's always Uber drivers and not Lyft, but it's mostly because Lyft does background checks and Uber doesn't.
Uber's got a reputation of also having a lot of sexual harassment happening toward females as well. Yes?
I've had extremely sketchy Uber rides. So yeah, I have to say I prefer Lyft. I've had a lot more Uber rides than Lyft rides, but yeah, I've had some sketchy.
What's the craziest ride you've had in Uber?
Let me see this one guy. We were in Jacksonville, in Florida, and he's like, he's making no sense at all. I'm like, is this guy on something? And he's like, you ever see something in the newspaper about something about a party? He's like, that was me. Like out of nowhere.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
then we pull up the top call, and there's like cops sitting on top. And he's like, it's the man. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, he was like nervous, so we got out of there pretty quick. But,
Starts asking you questions like, you know how to get rid of a body? Have you ever,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like
it
that.
was like a classic Florida man type of guy, you know. Or not like this Florida.
Mullet, party in the front,
Yeah.
party in the back, business up front, listening to some Def Leppard, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
My craziest Uber ride, I was taking a ride from where was it? The transit station in San Francisco to the Golden Gate Bridge. And my Uber driver's phone died halfway into the trip. So she almost hit 2 homeless people. Then we had to get my GPS out. And she almost hit 2 more homeless people and started clutching her chest and screaming, Jesus was looking out for us today. And then she missed the exit, and I had to pay a toll 2 ways across the Golden Gate Bridge. That was fantastic. Good times. But anyway, yeah, so that's deregulation. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. And by the way, story sharing is always welcome in here. Guys, everybody's got a different tolerance for risk. There are some businesses that are riskier than others. We're going to talk about what constitutes a risky business, what constitutes a less risky business, and we're going to do this with a little activity today. The bottom line is, generally speaking, the bigger risk you're taking, the more potential payoff you could possibly have. The iPhone turned 10 years old last year. Before the iPhone, everybody was using flip phones. There was one company that made a smartphone. That company was called BlackBerry. Who here has ever even heard of BlackBerry? Okay, check this out, guys. In 2008, the year the iPhone debuted, BlackBerry had something like 78% of market share in smartphones. As of this year, how much market share does BlackBerry have in smartphones?
1%.
Less than 1% globally. How do you mess up that bad when you've got that kind of market dominance? You mess up by not changing and not taking risks. They couldn't keep up with what Apple was trying to do. That's why Apple and later Android would dominate the market, because they were willing to take risks. So guys, in terms of risk and reward, it really does come down to how much you're willing to put time into to trying something new or different. Guys, sometimes mistakes produce amazing products. Has anybody here ever heard the story of the Post-it note? Anybody know how it was created? Well, we're going to show you a quick video to show you how a mistake can produce one of the most well-received products of the original criteria by which it was created, and yet you end up having one of the best-selling products of the 20th century. Here's the funny part. These were invented in the early 1970s and took almost 10 years to get to market. Would that approach fly in 2019? There's no way. If you cannot move quickly, you're not going to make an impact in the market. So pretty good example, and somebody who creates something within a company is what we refer to as an intrapreneur instead of an entrepreneur. He probably saw very little financial benefit from what he did because he was creating it for the company. Now, guys, what I always like to do in this class, because we've gone for about 20 minutes so far, we're going to take our first break of the class, and I'm going to give an opportunity for one question or statement from each side of the room. When I do this, you can ask me a question about anything, or you can make a statement about anything you like, even if you're promoting a campus event or promoting a personal agenda, whatever it is. I would like a question or a statement from this side of the room. Yes, sir.
Are they gonna update the fall community event list on the website? Because right now it has the spring one.
Oh yeah, somebody should be doing that. I'll make sure to send an email because I know I'm personally promoting some events this fall too, so that should get fixed. Thank you for bringing that up. We have a question or statement from this side of the room, sir.
So you said about the housing bubble.
Yeah.
I've heard the term before, but with the student debt crisis, would that be considered a bubble?
You bet. Think about this. Guys, I think this is my opinion. Anytime I give you this stuff, this is what I've seen from the things that I'm reading. I think we're going to have two bubbles that are coming up soon. One, the one that's going to hit first, I think is going to be the automotive bubble. And here's the trick. In the United States, does anybody here know what the average car payment is per month in the United States? Anybody have a guess? I wish. It's closer to 6. So we're talking about people who are upside down in car payments, people who are getting their first job out of college and buying a brand new car for a $600 a month car payment. Your car is what we refer to as a depreciating asset. The moment you drive it off the lot, you've lost 20% of its value. By the time you hit 100,000 miles, which isn't hard to do, you've got something that's costing you money. So we've got all these people who are upside down in cars, and I think that's going to be the first thing that hits. And I think the student loan bubble is going to be the next one. And the reason being is we all know school's expensive. And we're talking about some people who maybe went to school for subjects. And when I say this, I'm not judging anybody's passion. I think you can get a job in anything you want to do if you do it well. But some people maybe were picking subjects that were not conducive to careers after college. And I think a lot of those folks are having trouble paying their student loans. And student loans, unlike other kinds of finances, are not forgivable debt. For example, if I decided next week I want to quit paying my mortgage, my car payment, and my credit card bill, I can declare bankruptcy if I literally can't carry my bills, and that debt will be forgiven. It will destroy my credit for life, but that'll be forgiven. Student loans aren't that kind of debt. So I think that's an absolute worry that we have, which is why we want to make sure that we are teaching our students responsible lending and that sort of thing. Yes?
What is the definition of a bubble?
A bubble means, it's kind of like let's think about why it's called a bubble in the first place. A bubble is supported inside by air, and the outside is something very malleable and translucent. It doesn't take too much for that bubble to hit something that's going to make it pop, or to get too much air inside of it and it still pops. So it's a delicate balance. If you've got a financial system, for example, the housing crisis, where people are still paying into the system enough so the money that's coming in can go to the people who expect the money to come out, the bubble will stay intact. It bursts when it can no longer sustain itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, is it when you have more debt in a situation than you have assets?
Yep.
Like you can't actually back that up.
You're exactly right. More debt and revenue and assets. Yep.
Have you ever seen The Big Short?
Great movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I never understood this part of it though when they said that the bubble will pop whenever the default rates rise. What do they mean by that?
Default rates means how many people aren't paying their bills. So if you go into default, that means, so say for example, by the way, I'm with you guys. I also have a student loan because I'm doing my doctoral work. Let's say 2 years out of my doctoral work, I decide, to heck with this, I'm not paying my student loans anymore. Then I go into default, and that means that no money is coming out of me back into the system. So if too many people default, the system can't sustain itself.
I think in mood or in actual life, it's like once default's at 8%, how no one's gonna pop.
Yep, that's the amount of interest that is somewhat profit to those companies.
Okay.
Yeah, so absolutely great point. You guys are on this stuff. I am very happy with the way that you're already internalizing this stuff. And here's what I would like to do. For the sake of time, so that we don't have to count off, we're going to break this room into quadrants. So these first two rows are one quadrant. These 2 rows are a quadrant. These 3 rows are a quadrant. And these two rows are a quadrant. What I want you guys to talk about is tell me, if you were starting a business, Can you tell me a business that would be a sure thing, something that would make money no matter what, and one that would be risky, and which one your group would do and why? Would you do a sure thing, or would you do a risky business? And what would constitute a sure thing or a risky business? Take a minute in your groups and talk amongst yourselves.
Well,